Chapter 10. My room does not suck. I wasn't paying the closest attention as Hunting guided me through the hotel. I felt as if I'd spun around 50 times and then released into the middle of a circus and told to have fun. Each hall we walked through seemed bigger than the one before. Shh. Most of the hotel guests looked like they were in high school, though some looked slightly older. Guys and girls sat together in small groups, lounging in front of fireplaces, chatting in many different languages, eating snacks or playing board games like chess and Scrabble and something that involved real daggers and a blowtorch. Peeking into side lounges, I spotted pool tables, pinball machines, an old-fashioned video arcade, and something that looked like an Iron Maiden from a torture chamber. Staff members in dark green shirts moved among the guests, bringing platters of food and pitchers of drink. As far as I could tell, all the servers were buff female warriors with shields on their backs and swords or axes on their belts, which is not something you see a lot in the service industry. One heavily armed waitress passed me with a steaming plate of egg rolls. My stomach rumbled. "How can I be hungry if I'm dead?" I asked Hunding. "None of these people look dead." Hunding shrugged. "Well, there's dead and then there's dead. Think of Valhalla as more like an upgrade. You're one of the Einerjar now." He pronounced the word like in hair jar. In hair jar? I repeated. Just rolls off the tongue? Yeah, singular. In her jai. He said it like in hair ye. We're the chosen of Odin, soldiers in his eternal army. The word Einajar is usually translated as lone warriors, but that really doesn't compare to its meaning. It's more like the once warriors. The warriors who fought bravely in the last life and will fight bravely again on the day of doom. Duck! The day of doom, duck? No, duck! Hunding pushed me down as a spear flew past. It impaled a guy sitting on the nearest sofa, killing him instantly. Drinks, dice, Monopoly money flew everywhere. The people he'd been playing with rose to their feet, looked mildly annoyed, and then glared in the direction that the spear had come from. "I saw that, John Red Hand!" Hunding yelled. "The lounge is a no impaling area!" From the billiard room, someone laughed and called back, "Swedish?" He didn't sound very remorseful. Anyway, Hunding resumed walking as if nothing had happened. "The elevators are right over here." "Wait," I said, "that guy was just murdered with a spear. Aren't you going to do anything?" "Oh, the wolves will clean it up." My pulse went to double time. Wolves? Sure enough, while the other Monopoly players were sorting their pieces, a pair of gray wolves bounded into the lounge, grabbed the dead man by the legs, and dragged him away, the spear still sticking out of his chest. The trail of blood evaporated instantly. The perforated sofa mended itself. I cowered behind the nearest potted plant. I don't care how that sounds. My fear simply took control. Those wolves didn't have glowing blue eyes like the animals that had attacked my apartment. But still, I wished I'd ended up in an afterlife, where the mascot was a gerbil. "Aren't there any rules against killing?" I asked, in a small voice. Hunding raised a bushy eyebrow. "That was just a bit of fun, boy. The victim will be fine by dinner." He pulled me out of my hiding place. "Come on." Before I could ask more about the bit of fun, we reached an elevator. Its cage door was made out of spears. Overlapping gold shields lined the walls. The control panel had so many buttons, it stretched from floor to ceiling. The highest number was 540. Hunding pressed 19. "How can this place have 540 floors?" I said. "It would be the tallest building in the world." "If it only existed in one world, yes, but it connects with all of the 9 worlds. You just came through the Midgard entrance. Most mortals do." Midgard? I vaguely remembered something about the Vikings believing in 9 different worlds. Randolph had used the term worlds, too, but it had been a long time since my mom read me those Norse bedtime stories. "You mean like the world of humans?" "Aye." Hunding took a breath and recited, 540 floors has Valhalla. 540 doors leading into the 9 worlds. He grinned. "You never know when or where we'll have to march off to war." "How often has that happened?" "Well, never. But still, it could happen at any time." I, for one, can't wait. Finally, Helgi will have to stop punishing me. "The manager? What's he punishing you for?" Hunding's expression soured. "Long story. He and I..." The elevator's spear cage door rolled open. "Forget it." Hunding clapped me on the back. "You'll like floor 19. Good hallmates." I'd always thought of hotel corridors as dark, depressing, and claustrophobic. Floor 19? Not so much. The vaulted ceiling was 20 feet high. lined with, you guessed it, more spears for rafters. Valhalla had apparently gotten a good deal with the spear wholesale warehouse. Torches burned in iron sconces, but they didn't seem to make any smoke. They just cast warm orange light across the wall displays of swords, shields, and tapestries. The hall was so wide you could have played a regulation soccer game, no problem. The blood-red carpet had tree branch designs that moved as if swaying in the wind. Set about 50 feet apart, each guest room door was rough-hewn oak, bound in iron. I didn't see any doorknobs or locks. In the center of each door, a plate-sized iron circle was inscribed with a name surrounded by a ring of Viking runes. The first read Half-Born Gunderson. Behind that door, I heard shouting and a metal clanging like a sword fight was in progress. The next read Mallory Keene. Behind that door, silence. Then Thomas Jefferson Jr. The popping of gunfire came from inside, though it sounded more like a video game than the actual thing. Yes, I've heard both. The fourth door was simply marked X. In front, a room service cart sat in the hallway with several head of pig on a silver platter. The pig's ears and nose looked slightly nibbled. Now, I'm not a food critic. Being homeless, I could never afford to be, but I draw the line at pig heads. We'd almost reached the T at the end of the hall when a large black bird shot around the corner and zipped past me, almost clipping my ear. I watched the bird disappear down the hall, a raven with a notepad and a pen in its talons. What was that? I asked. A raven, Hunding said, which I found very helpful. Finally, we stopped at a door inscribed Magnus Chase. Seeing my name written in iron, inscribed with runes, I started to tremble. My last hope that this might be a mistake, a birthday prank or cosmic mix-up, finally evaporated. The hotel was expecting me. They'd spelled my name right and everything. For the record, Magnus means great. My mom named me that because our family was descended from Swedish kings or something a billion years ago. Also, she said I was the greatest thing that ever happened to her. I know. 1, 2, 3, aww. It was an annoying name to have. People tended to spell it Magnus. Rhymes with Angus. I always corrected them. No, it's Magnus. Rhymes with Swagnus. At which point they would stare at me blankly. Anyway, there was my name on the door. Once I went through, I would be checked in. According to the manager, I'd have a new home until doomsday. Go ahead. Hunding pointed at the runestone key in my hand. The symbol looked more like an infinity sign or a sideways hourglass. It's Dagaz, Hunding said. Nothing to be afraid of. It symbolizes new beginnings, transformations. It also opens your door. Only you have access. I swallowed. What if, for instance, the staff wants to get in? Oh, we use the staff key. Hunding patted the axe on his belt. I couldn't tell if he was kidding. I held up the runestone. I didn't want to try it, but I also didn't want to stay in the hallway until I got impaled by a random spear or injured by a raven hit and run. Instinctively, I touched the stone to the matching Dagaz mark on the door. The ring of runes glowed green. The door swung open. I stepped inside and my jaw hit the floor. The suite was nicer than any place I'd ever visited. Nicer than any place, including Uncle Randolph's mansion. In a trance, I moved to the middle of the suite, where a central atrium was open to the sky. My shoes sank into the thick green grass. 4 large oak trees ringed a garden like pillars. The lower branches spread into the room across the ceiling, interweaving with the rafters. The taller branches grew up into the opening of the atrium, making a lacy canopy. Sunlight warmed my face. A pleasant breeze wafted through the room, bringing a smell of jasmine. How? I stared at Hunding. Hundreds of floors are above us, but that's the open sky. And it's the middle of winter. How can I feel sun and warm? Hunding shrugged. I don't know. Magic? But this is your afterlife, boy. You earned some perks, eh? Had I? I didn't feel particularly perk-worthy. I turned in a slow circle. The suite was shaped like a cross, with 4 sections radiating from the central atrium. Each wing was as large as my old apartment. One was the entry hall where we came in. The next was a bedroom with a king-size bed. Despite its size, the room was spare and simple. A beige comforter and fluffy-looking pillows on the bed. Beige walls with no artwork or mirrors or other decoration. Heavy brown curtains could be drawn to close off the space. I remembered when I was a kid how my mom used to make my room with no frills as possible. I'd always found it hard to sleep indoors, unless I had total darkness, nothing to distract me. Looking at this bedroom, I felt like somebody had reached into my mind and pulled out exactly what I needed to be comfortable. The wing to the left was a dressing area, bathroom tiled in black and beige, my favorite colors. The perks included a sauna, a hot tub, a walk-in closet, a walk-in shower, and a walk-in toilet. Just kidding on the last one, but it was a fancy throne, suitable for the honored dead. The suite's fourth wing was a full kitchen and living room. At one end of the living room, a big leather couch faced a plasma screen TV with about 6 different game systems stacked in the media cabinet. On the other side, 2 recliners sat in front of a crackling fireplace and a wall of books. Yes, I like to read. I'm weird that way. Even after dropping out of school, I spent a lot of time at the Boston Public Library, learning random stuff just to pass the time in a warm, safe place. For 2 years, I had missed my old book collection. I never seriously thought I would have one again. I walked over to check out the titles on the shelves, then I noticed the picture framed in silver on the fireplace mantel. Something like a bubble of helium made its way up into my esophagus. No way. I picked up the photo. It showed me at age 8 and my mom at the summit of Mount Washington in New Hampshire. It had been one of the best trips of my life. We'd asked a park ranger to take photos. In the shot, I was grinning, which I don't do much anymore, showing off my missing 2 front teeth. My mom knelt behind me, and her arms wrapped around my chest, her green eyes crinkling at the corners, her freckles dark from the sun, her blonde hair kept swept sideways by the wind. "This is impossible," I murmured. "There was only one copy of this picture. It burned in the fire." I turned to Hunding, who was wiping his eyes. "You okay?" He cleared his throat. "Fine, of course I am. The hotel likes to provide you with keepsakes, reminders of your old life. Photographs." Under his beard, his mouth might have been quivering. "But when I died, they didn't have photographs. It's just, you're lucky." No one had called me lucky in a very long time. The idea shook me out of my daze. I'd been without my mom for 2 years. I'd been dead, or upgraded, for only a few hours. This bellhop from Saxony had been here since 749 CE. I wonder how he had died, and what family he'd left behind. 1,200 years later, he was still getting teary-eyed about them, which seemed like a cruel way to spend an afterlife. Hunding straightened and wiped his nose. "Enough of that. If you have questions, call the front desk. I look forward to hearing about your brave exploits tonight at dinner." "My brave exploits?" "Now, don't be modest. You wouldn't have been chosen unless you did something heroic. But, been a pleasure serving you, sir, and welcome to the Hotel Valhalla." He held out his palm. It took me a second to realize he wanted a tip. I dug in my jacket pockets, not expecting to find anything. Miraculously, the chocolate bar I'd swiped from Uncle Randolph's house was still there, undamaged from its trip through the great beyond. I gave it to Hunding. "Sorry, that's all I have." His eyes turned to the size of drink coasters. "Gods of Asgard! Thank you, kid!" He sniffed the chocolate and held it up like a holy chalice. "Wow. Okay, if you need anything, you let me know. Your Valkyrie will come and get you right before dinner." "Wow." "My Valkyrie? Wait, I don't have a Valkyrie." Hunding laughed, his eyes still fixed on the chocolate bar. "Yeah, if I had your Valkyrie, I'd say the same thing. She's caused her share of trouble." "What do you mean? See you tonight, kid." Hunding headed for the door. "I got things to eat. Do. Try not to kill yourself before dinner."